Now the origin of the endocrine glands. These are some of the important points now I will tell you. You just go through it. Note it down also. They may be endodermal, mesodermal, ectodermal and ectomesodermal. The endodermal glands are thyroid, parathyroid, islet of Langerhans, gastric glands, intestinal glands and thymus. Mesodermal gland is gonad, ectodermal is pituitary, hypothalamus, pineal body and the gonads, and ectodermal is the adrenal gland. Now we have studied Herring's bodies that is present in the pituitary and it stored neurosecretory substances of hypothalamus. The 8th gland is the thyroid gland. Now when under stress, adrenaline is secreted directly into blood. Now other organs which secretes hormones besides these glands, they're the kidney, heart and the digestive tract. So kidney secrete erythrostatin, erythroskrotin, which stimulates the RBC production. Now it is produced in the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney, and the renin, it also secretes renin, which controls the erythrophysis in bone marrow and osmoregulation. And the heart secretes the arterial natriuretic factor ANF. It regulates the salt and water balance and the blood pressure. When blood pressure is high, this ANF causes dilation of blood vessels and reduces the BP. Now in digestive tract, there are 4 major peptide hormones. These are gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, gastric inhibitor peptide or GIP. So gastrin acts on the gastric glands and which stimulates secretion of HCl and pepsinogen. Secretin acts on exocrine glands which stimulates secretion of H2 and bicarbonates. And cholecystokinin, there is CCK, it acts on pancreas which stimulates secretion of the pancreatic enzyme, and gallbladder which stimulates secretion of the bile juice. Now gastric inhibitor peptide, it inhibits the gastric secretion and the motility. Now note that several non-endocrine tissues hormones are called the growth factors. What are growth factors, you may be asked, and it is essential for normal growth of tissues, repairing and regeneration. Now I will tell you some important points. I'm not writing it, you just write it down by listening it. Now excess secretion of growth hormone in adults, especially in the middle age, can result in severe disfigurement, especially of the face, and it is called acromegaly, acromegaly, which may lead to serious complications and premature death if unchecked. The disease is hard to diagnose in the early stages and often goes undetected for many years until changes in external features become noticeable. Next point. What is diabetes insipidus? An impairing affecting synthesis or release of ADH result in diminished ability of the kidney to conserve water, leading to water loss and dehydration. This condition is called diabetes insipidus. An exophthalmic goiter is a form of hyperthyroidism characterized by enlargement of the thyroid gland, protrusion of the eyeballs, increased basal metabolic rate and weight loss. It is also called Graves' disease. Now, underproduction of hormones by the adrenal cortex alters the carbohydrate metabolism, causing acute weakness and fatigue, leading to a disease called Addison's disease. Now, just I'm going through a quick recap of all those lessons what you have studied. Both endocrine system and the nervous system are meant for internal communications and regulation of psychological functions of the animal body. Number 2, hormones are released by endocrine glands. Number 3, endocrine glands are also called ductless glands, and as they release their secretion directly into the blood and do not have any ducts to release their secretions. Next point is that different endocrine glands are present in our body are pituitary glands, pineal gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, pancreas, parathyroid gland, thymus, and gonads. Just close your eyes and listen it. You may also write it down. Now, several hormones are released by neurosecretory cells of the hypothalamus to regulate the synthesis and secretion of the pituitary hormones. Next point, the hypothalamus is connected to the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland by hypophyseal portal veins and to the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland by axons of the neurosecretory cells. The hypophysis of the pituitary gland is divided into adenophysis or the neurophysis. The adenophysis is divided into pars distalis and pars intermedia, and this pars distalis secretes or releases growth hormone, prolactin, TSH, ACTH, LH, and FSH, and pars intermedia secretes the MSH. Next point, growth hormone helps in the growth of the body. Deficiency of growth hormone in childhood causes dwarfism, and in excesses cause gigantism. Now, prolactin causes the growth of mammary glands and milk secretion. ACTH controls functioning and structure of the adrenal cortex, especially secretion of glucocorticoids and sexocorticoids. The two gonadotrophic hormones released by the anterior pituitary are FSH and LH. MSH acts on melanocytes and regulates the pigmentation of the skin. Neurophysis releases two hormones, oxytocin and the vasopressin. These hormones are produced by the hypothalamus but are released through neurophysis. Now, pineal gland releases a hormone called melatonin, which regulates 24-hour diurnal rhythm of the body. Thyroid gland releases mainly three hormones, T3, T4, and thyrocalcitonin. It is TCT. Thyrocalcitonin is called the TCT. The iodine is essential for the synthesis of the thyroid hormones T3 and T4. TCT or the thyrocalcitonin, TCT or thyrocalcitonin, and a parathormone regulate the calcium level of the blood. The parathormone increases the calcium level in the blood, and TCT decreases the calcium level in the blood. Thus, the calcium level remains constant. Now, thymus secretes is the thymosin, which are essential for the maturation of the T lymphocytes. Adrenal gland has two types of tissue, outer adrenal cortex and the inner adrenal medulla. Adrenal cortex releases glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and sex corticoids, whereas adrenal medulla releases epinephrine and norepinephrine. Next point, alpha cells of the pancreas secretes glucagon, which increases the blood glucose level, and the beta cells of the pancreas release insulin, which decreases the blood glucose level. Thus, the level of glucose remains the same. Hyposecretion of insulin means less secretion of insulin can cause diabetes mellitus. Now, regarding the gonads, testis is composed of interstitial tissue and seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules are responsible for the formation of sperms and stromal tissue containing Leydig cells which release testosterone. Ovaries release estrogen and progesterone. ANF is released by arterial walls of the heart. It regulates the blood pressure. Juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney produce a hormone, erythropoietin, ERYTHROPOIETIN, which stimulates the erythropoiesis. GI tract releases mainly four hormones, namely gastrin, secretin, CCK, and GIP. Now, four major types of hormones are peptide hormone, amino acid derivatives, steroid hormone, iodothyronines. The steroid hormones and iodothyronines are lipophilic and hence bind to intercellular receptors, whereas remaining are lipophobic and do not cross the lipid bilayer and hence bind to extracellular receptors. So that's all for this chapter. Later we'll discuss about the questions.